Nope.
Hello, dear listener. Before we begin this video, this story, this preview, whatever you want to call it, I'm going to give you guys a quick little spiel about why this video is even existing right now. So this is not going to be a full story. It's going to be a preview of a longer story, and I'm not going to give you guys the full story because it is going to be an exclusive on a new project I am working on at the moment. I am releasing a book, hopefully this late August or early September. So don't hold me to that date specifically, but that's what I'm aiming for. The book is going to be just a collection of all the stories I have written, all my original work. So if you're someone who's been rocking with this channel from the start, there's a good chance you've already heard all of them. There's going to be some new stuff in there, but again, for the most part, it's all stuff that I've already recorded and put on this channel. So to be honest, there's not a big reason to buy the book if you just want to get new stories. But if you guys want just like a cool little, physical thing that you can have and just read, casually, if you want something to give as a gift to somebody else that you know is a horror enthusiast or anything like that, for any reason, if you want to buy it, it will be available. And it's also going to be part of a fundraiser because all the proceeds that I get from that book are going to be donated straight to a charity. I will have more information moving forward. I'm still working on editing the design of the book, which I'm doing everything myself. I'm trying to keep, costs as low as possible, but that also means things are moving a little slower than I would have, preferred. So with that said, if you guys want to keep up with the status of the book and, be notified when it is available, follow me on all social media platforms, or just pick the one that you like the most. Instagram is where I'm going to be the most active, followed by Facebook, Twitter if you have to, and of course YouTube. I'm going to be making updates on this channel as well. But I just wanted you guys to know that before going to this video, that you're going to get only about half of the story that's about to play, and the other half can be read in the book when it becomes available. Now that I got all that out of the way, sit back and enjoy the preview for They Live in the Mirrors.
Esoptrophobia is the irrational fear of mirrors. Mirrors. Something we come into contact with several times a day without thinking twice about it. This fear may not be very common among many of us, but there are many cultures who are familiar with it. For example, the ancient Romans believed mirrors offered a reflection of our very soul, since, according to their superstitions, a person would regenerate their soul every 7 years. Anyone who broke a mirror would be burdened with 7 years of misfortune. Meanwhile, over in Mesoamerica, the use of mirrors was traditionally associated with the idea that they act as portals to an alternate realm, one that could be seen but not interacted with. The point is, the notion of mirrors being more than a tool to drool over ourselves is a very real thing. This is something I learned years ago. The lesson is something I'll likely never forget, despite all my best efforts. It was then that I learned that they live in the mirrors. It happened roughly a decade ago when I was a senior in high school, and I still lived in our family home in Northern California. Being a part of an ethnic family meant extended relatives were always around, and it's something I grew used to. Every weekend meant another family gathering of some kind. My parents loved to host, so we often had people over. Since that was the case, they both decided to bite the bullet and renovate the house. It was late winter when all the construction and enhancements took place. We installed new wood floors, granite in the kitchen, redesigned the windows. You name it, we most likely did it. Among these upgrades was the installation of mirrors across the walls of our hallway. My mother read that mirrored walls give the illusion of space, so she decided that was the plan for our barren hallway. From what I remember, my dad was not thrilled about the idea from a design perspective and was really not on board when he received a quote on what would be the cost to have the new mirrors installed. Being a fervently frugal man and a big fan of making things come to life by his own two hands, my dad took it upon himself to handle the purchasing and installations of the mirrors himself. For someone who had no experience installing large mirrors, I must say he did a great job. Once it was completed, the hallway did in fact appear to be roomier. By the time all the upgrades and renovation around the house were complete, it was spring, and a relative was just a few days away from tying the knot with his fiancée. Family members from around the country had driven and flown into town, and being the ever-accommodating people they were, my parents opened their doors for anyone who needed a place to stay. We had a full house that weekend, every corner sprawling with aunts, uncles, cousins, and the like. Some of those relatives were going to spend the night with us. We all stayed up late that night, reminiscing about our childhood, playing cards and cracking inappropriate jokes. We finally decided to call it and head to sleep. I said goodnight to everyone, headed up to my room, and passed out almost immediately upon laying my head on my pillow. A couple of hours later, I awoke and realized I really needed to pee. Our out-of-town relatives were asleep in our guest room, which was right next to the bathroom. I did not want to risk waking anyone up and ruining their sleep, especially since the wedding was the next day. I decided I would make a courteous choice and use the downstairs bathroom instead. This required me to go down our flight of stairs, turn right, and head down our long, newly renovated hallway. The whole place was extremely dark, but I noticed the streetlights reflecting through our high windows and onto the large mirrors that now lined our walls. I took advantage of the makeshift nightlights to guide myself down the hall and into the bathroom. I got in, did my business, washed my hands, and began to head back to my bed. I walked through the hallway, once again allowing the reflection of the lights to guide my slow and cautious steps through the dark. With my eyes slightly to my side, I noticed something in my peripheral vision. It felt like time slowed down as I turned my focus to my reflection. And that's when I saw it. The dim glow of the lights illuminated the smooth surface of the mirror, just enough for me to notice something crouching behind me. My heart dropped. For a moment, I felt my entire body seize up in fear. The shape that stalked behind me sort of had the figure of a human, but there were too many things that were just wrong. It was too dark, almost as if it was absorbing all the light around it. And its arms, they were too long compared to the rest of its body. I probably only stared at it for a few seconds through the corner of my eye, when I noticed it pick up one of its unnaturally long arms and bring it towards my back. This thing was reaching for me. Luckily, seeing this broke my trance and caused me to jump forward and turn around 180 degrees. I moved so quickly that I actually slammed into a nearby door. But when I looked, there was nothing there. No sign of anyone or anything creeping up behind me. I took a moment to collect myself before bolting up the stairs and back into my room. It was almost 4 a.m. at this point, and as you can imagine, I was wide awake. After laying in bed for a while, just staring at the ceiling, I decided I would quit my goal of achieving more quality sleep and just start my day with some coffee and a long run around the neighborhood to calm my nerves. The wedding came and went, and so did all of our relatives. After that weekend, something changed in our house. Something that made it very clear that my encounter was far from a mere hallucination. I began to see things in the mirrors.